Yeah, we start with the next panel, innovation management, and we do it in the same way. I think 2 from 3 of the speakers don't need to introduce themselves, but Markus, could you be so kind and introduce you quickly? No.
Yeah, I'm Markus. I'm basically I'm a hotelier for a long time, and I decided to recently, 2-3 years back, to found my own tech company to build a system how I always wanted to sell hotel experiences. It's called Gauvendi. We're in the market maybe 18 months live with the product, and yeah, looking forward to this panel.
Okay, so then we would start with innovation management and what it means and what are the most breathless topics in innovation nowadays. What do you think, Antonia, from the perspective? What is really innovative? What is really needed nowadays? And what is the most big focus point hoteliers needs to take a look at?
Yeah. Thank you for that. So I think, first of all, what does innovation mean, right? Because I think we always look at innovation, or it needs to be a brand new thing. I need to be the first one doing it. Actually, if you Google innovation, right, it's interesting what comes out. It's just a new idea, a product, or a new process. That's all it is, right? So whatever that means for a certain user group, I guess you can, think that for yourself. But what I think is really important at this point, and I think I alluded to it in my presentation earlier already, is really disengaging your employees from the screen, right? I think that is something that a lot of hoteliers are struggling with at the moment to do with obviously the more traditional systems that they're working with, right? Because they're not built similarly to other SaaS products like Netflix, Spotify and co, right? That really are good at engaging users. We're trying to do the opposite, disengaging users. So I think that is a big topic to really relieve your staff, and that, it might sound a bit crazy, but that is the innovation that we're going through at the moment within the hospitality.
Thanks. No, already implemented? No? Okay. Next, Markus, what do you think is innovation?
Well, it's a big word. I just asked her if you also have maybe the ChatGPT definition of that. For me, it's basically what we talking about. My understanding was we talk about it's more a culture to build a culture of innovation in a hotel. If you want to innovate, what is innovation management? Hard word. Not sure how to answer that. But for what we said basically is it's a part of a change management process, and how do we take employees, how do we take customers and lead them through the process. And I think very often we talk about different things here about innovation, but maybe to clarify or structure it a bit, it's on one side is your customers and what you do with them and how do you deliver your brand promise to them. On the other side is how do you make your employees feel better, that they can, what was the example right now, sit on an island and basically manage basically the processes. That is also part of the innovation, but it's and innovation management means that it needs to be cohesive with your brand marketing promise and say, okay, where do you want to innovate, or what do you need to manage, and where do you need to build a culture of innovation. That could be simple stuff, right? It could be remote work or whatever, and you can only do that with cloud, but that's not really innovative. I mean, it's all there. It's just a question how you use it.
Thanks.
I'm a very big fan of reading. So for me, innovation is a technique that you can learn, okay? And that is often very much missing in our industry, okay? It's actually a set of, like when you learn economics, when you learn strategy, it's actually a set of mental tools that you can use in order to keep being relevant. Okay, so many times when I discuss with hotels, I see that they try to be innovative, but without applying the right techniques. So they have ideas, for example, like today in my phone, like someone was using an old chat and says, no, I just really want to be very innovative. So how are you with ChatGPT? And I said like, oh. because you see people see big brands, big announcement, etc., and they try to grab it and think that it is innovation. When in fact, innovation is just how you will keep your business being relevant. And it's something that happens step by step, following simple models without having like necessarily big announcements. Okay, like actually, if you want to be very innovate, like to handle innovation, it's not really at these panels that you will learn everything. But for example, you can read The Innovator's Dilemma, you can read Crossing the Chasm, you can read Only the Paranoid Survive. With these 3 books, you will probably be the smartest person about innovation in the room. The problem is that during this whole conference, and I've not been here all the time, but I could hear from time to time that we were kind of feeling, oh, this is happening again, and this will come around. And it's just, we need to formalize this. And when, as an industry, or industry leaders, we will be able to do this, then we will be innovative. I don't know if I was making sense.
Yeah, it makes
Too much
sense.
coffee, maybe.
Overall, it makes sense, but it's also direct us to one of the biggest questions: how to overcome the tech struggle we have in hospitality right now. Because most of the hotels that think about innovation in whatever direction think about, I have this software in use, I have this process in use, I need to also think about a certain application, whatever. How hotels can overcome this tech struggle? How could they start with any direction to go to?
Yeah, I think that's how almost every project for us starts out, right? Is really to understand, what are you struggling with, right? Like what are the areas, the key areas that you believe need change? That's the first question you should ask, right? And you shouldn't just ask that yourself, you should ask that your entire team and listen to that audience, right? Because your reception might have a problem with, I don't know, they're wasting time on a certain process like the nice registration cards, right? Your housekeeping might have a problem because they might not have the communication at that time. And again, innovation is a new process, is making something better, more efficient, generating more revenues out of it because you've introduced something new. So therefore, it's really, really important to us. And I think that's my recommendation here in this group to overcome that struggle, right? To really, what's the status quo? If somebody comes up to me and says, my check-in takes 9 minutes, and 8 minutes of that is just, I'm trying to enter something into the screen, then I understand the problem and we can work on it, right? So for us, I think for all of us tech providers, it's really important, what's the status quo, right? Like, who is your target group? What are your challenges? And from there, I think we can start that project.
But most probably this directed also the question to the hoteliers. First of all, that the hoteliers need to understand what their challenges is today, or are today, correct?
Yeah, I think I can agree with, I mean, it starts with your customer, right? Who do you try to serve, and what do you want to be for your customers? And I think this is the fine line if you don't really understand this. I mean, all the technology is there. I mean, I give this example of a check-in, you mentioned check-in or the screen. Well, for one brand, the check-in, I can delegate that to the customer. I have all the work as a customer, but therefore I demand a price discount. Why should I do the work? If I'm going to a luxury experience, I want the guys doing it for me. Why should I be sent and be bothered with this? I mean, it's all coming back to the brand experience we're trying to deliver. And again, I think when you have your customers, it's all about what is part of your guest journey, where do you need to do that, where is the focus, how do I make my life of my employees easier? And then you have all these different cultural elements in it, etc. But I think this is where we get it wrong, and that was your example, right? How can I make the life of my employees easier? Where can I automate for things which can be automated nowadays? And I think there is where innovation management starts as well. It's not the easy part, but it's the obvious part. It's more difficult for the customer side because we all know we have a hotel to fill. It's 365 days a year. And with one customer profile, it's not going to be, you're not going to go anywhere, pretty much. I mean, it works, yeah, but you want to fill your hotel and you have corporates, you have families, you have leisure, you have business, you have everything. So, and all of a sudden, you find yourself as being everything to everybody. And this is a problem in itself because then the complexity starts.
True, really true. What do you think is innovation management in that perspective starts from an external source or from an internal source?
It starts from one source, which is making money. Okay? So if you want an owner to be like, owners are not innovative; they are capitalists. Okay, so they are here to generate money. Okay, so we all love guests, etc. But like, if you want to start innovation, okay, an innovation process in your hotel, you should translate it into monetary terms, because like most of the initiatives that I've seen are stopped by owners. Because we speak about like all the fancy things that we're going to do, but we fail at making the translation in money terms. So at the beginning I was all about customer service and helping the guests, etc. And then but of course this comes at a cost, and that's where innovation gets stopped. Okay, because the owner has to sign. Since I translate the wins in terms of time saving, in terms of wages that don't have to be paid, or when I translate in terms of reservations that wouldn't have been made, then innovation can start. But then, if you you see, when you want to innovate, always start with things that get you money fast, because otherwise you won't get the funding to keep your innovation project going on. Because the main problem of capitalism is the short term. That's why we're all going to die in a few years, by the way. But the idea is, since we decide to be in this society, then you have to understand that your long-term goal has to be translated into things that your owners can understand.
Okay, thanks. Quite good.
I apologize.
No, good.
I can add to that. I mean, I think the challenge is the attribution problem we have today, because why now it took how many years does it take to understand that reviews actually impact your sales? And it's hard that an owner would accept that today. I mean, they look at reviews and they will see that has an impact on my business, but it wasn't always like that, right? They give a damn. Sorry, I was saying, where is my money? And I've been in these situations, always the same thing. And it's a salesperson dilemma, right? If the market is, everything works fine, it's a market, everything is great. What are you doing actually the whole day, other than drinking coffee? And if it's down, what are you doing all day, right? I mean, where is my business and my money? And it's the attribution problem of these little things. And I agree with you. I mean, we need to translate that better into value. And how do we define value? In capitalism, it's pretty much it's bottom line, yeah, of course. But maybe we have to redefine value with all the sustainability stuff and so on. I mean, that's a different discussion. That's not our panel, but but I would say I'm with you. But that's the challenge for us. How can we translate that into measurable stuff which an owner or an investor understands? And that's difficult.
I mean, I agree with Benji actually on the hotel owner side, but let's not forget, change is only driven by a majority of people, right? Little change at a time. And what I'm saying is, like, there is an external part to it, right? There's a fine balance between that, right? Because from what I was presenting earlier, like a lot of that change that comes about in the hospitality industry is because other industries have already gone through change, right? We tend to be the last ones in all of that, but that's okay. And it's just, look at the airlines, for example, right? They were doing revenue management. They were yielding back in the day already, boarding passes and so forth in your Apple Wallet, just to name a few examples. So I think there's an external part that plays a big role of obviously how your hotel owners can make more money. That's important. But I do believe that it's the external change that drives us to adapt to that constant change.
Okay. That means... Oh, yeah, wait. So we have a question?
Thanks. I also agree with what Antonia said, that it comes from the outside, and I disagree a bit with what Markus said about that a 5-star hotel is less likely to have a need for having an online check-in. I know that's not what you meant, but...
I didn't say that.
Anyhow, I think we do need to think about the guests in terms of, like, my generation and the generations to come. We're just used to being able to do everything online, and, like, the tolerance for standing in front of a reception desk and being asked to, like, write something on paper that, like, goes down. It's like, no, I don't understand. Like, I put everything in when I booked. So even when a lot of guests in certain hotels will not use this type of stuff as much. I think it's really important that everyone starts offering it, because more and more guests will be used to this and will expect it. Even though if I go into like a big 5-star resort, I still don't want to write something on a piece of paper after I've traveled there. And for me, it's also part of the service to being able to have that whole experience digital and with my own device, and not having to go through old school processes and being like, why is this happening? So no matter like what kind of target group you have, I think it's important that everyone starts implementing these kind of things, because those like plus 70, at some point they will, as Benjamin said, all die. So we will have to we'll have to think about the future, and like all those guests that keep on coming, they will be used to this kind of stuff. So it's important for everyone.
It's a generational thing.
It's a generational thing. No matter what your concept is, you should always offer.
We all agree here. The idea is that we all have to be green. We all have to be so many things. The question is really like for owner, because it's money. It's really easy to spend all your income doing new stuff. But the question is, how do you try to be more successful in doing it than others? And how do you make your business more resilient through it? And what I see as well is that in the tech side, we still have so much to do in order to provide the things that hotels expect. You know, because in terms of integrations, in terms of ecosystem, we still have so much to do to make sure that we don't only innovate in one dimension, but the dimension that we bring when we enter an ecosystem actually benefits the whole ecosystem, is still something that has to be handled. And there are so many things to do that it is really important to be able to focus on the specific things that you want to do, because you can't do just innovative stuff. It's too complex.
I'm part of this panel now. Hi.
Were you, by the way?
No.
What? Sorry?
Were you, by the way?
Oh yeah, I'm Svenja. Hi. I'm also a hotelier, but then worked for Mews for a couple of years in sales, and now I've been helping hotels go through transitions like this. So I help implementing. I support them with the challenges that may arise. I mainly do process optimization, maybe, because that's the other thing I wanted to say, is that the problem is a lot of hotels, they hear all these things and then they're like, oh yeah, sure, we'll do all this. But they're still thinking in their old processes. So they just basically want to translate one by one what they did before and put it into a new system. And that makes no sense. So we always need to look at like the big picture, and like I always try to cut it down to the very basics. I'm a bit of a like Marie Kondo. I don't know if anyone's heard of her, but I love her. So I clean everything out, and then we just like start step by step from the very basics, and basically just later on, like Teeny also, we started with like 2 things, and then now she's got, I don't know, 10 integrations. But you need to start with the basics so that your processes are completely. What is your question, Svenja?
Yes, that's the question.
so that your processes work in your new environment, and that you don't take like your old stuff and just put it into a new system and then look at it and be like, why is it not working anymore? Sorry.
It's completely correct. I want to agree with most of the points, yes. But what you also need to keep in mind is that we are now at a point where we already have a generation change. And it's not the generation change only from guest perspective. It's also a generation change from the employee side. And that means that also all our new employees in the next, 5 years will request an innovation in hospitality. No staff or no one at a reception want to take over the paper sheet for the registration. They want to request a change from the hoteliers. And the hoteliers itself or the owners need to adopt it. Otherwise, they will lose their stuff. Otherwise, they will lose their money. What we redirect to you, Benji. That's completely right. A quick change, a quick time look. We have 8 minutes left, and one of the biggest requested things is how can we improve our hotel experience, or what is the big or quick takeaways to innovation in hospitality? We start again with Antonia.
Sure. To go with my theme on employees, obviously, I would say the first thing that I would literally do and how I would start this process is really get everyone together or form sort of a project team, right? From different departments. Some of my unique players that really are keen to make a change, right? For one, that would make them part of a team, right? And will definitely make them more motivated. But for two, they're learning through that process as well, right? And they're part of a major change. So from that perspective, start with your team, get that team together and really understand who is my guest, what are the challenges we're facing in our daily operations or whatever it is, what are my KPIs that I'm targeting, and then think about and really go into the detail with your plan to look at the guest journey. How can we improve the most important points and really prioritize, right? For example, like going back to that example with that queue at the reception, right? Like I literally have people coming to me saying, we've implemented a new PMS and all of a sudden my queue got longer and my average check-in time increased. And then really going into that detail to say, well, why is that, right? What has changed from before? And really going into these points. And that sometimes can be like a little innovation, but it makes your employees so much happier to be part of solutioning the problem, right? That was giving them a headache before.
Are you selling a PMS? Can that be?
Quite.
But sorry, can I just jump in there? And sorry, I think we're talking about a complex situation here, and coming back. I mean, you have employees and you have guest journey, and for the employees, I think we all agree. I mean, there's a purpose. Especially the cultural changes of the younger generation. You know, they want purposeful work. I mean, not that we didn't want that, but we had to go through a career ladder and say, oh, okay. You know, certain things you have to do until you get to the next job and so on. Now, they just leave, right? If they don't like it, and they don't even tell you, they tell you afterwards, oh, I didn't really like that, or it didn't give me a pay rise, and say, oh, but you should have told me. But they didn't. And it's a whole different ballgame. But coming to innovation management is basically, yes, employees are probably a core. But what we're also missing to maneuver through the complexity is what I'm trying to deliver here. What kind of brand am I? And again, coming to your grade, would you say disagree? The point is, what do I stand for? And what role does check and play for my brand experience? And then you can decide what you need or not need. And there's certain elements which everybody is used to, right? I mean, I have a certain thing, we get technology as part of the world. I want to make it easy. Give me self-sufficiency is something we know. I don't necessarily need the concierge carrying my suitcase up maybe anymore. That's pretty much accepted even in 5-star luxury hotels sometimes. But I do need concierge services. I do want personalization. And technology is not helping. I mean, our current technology is helping to deliver that personalization, because we have interface problems, right? We have a lot of systems, they don't talk to each other, and there is where the complexity starts. And that's basically what I'm saying is, where do we start? We start with your customer journey, we start with your employee journey. And that's basically giving you at least a red thread and said, what makes sense and what doesn't make sense at this time.
Thanks.
So you start with the money. Okay. No, but honestly, if we are like wrapping up, the idea is first make sure that the choices that you make are choices that will make you win. And for this, you need to acquire innovation management. Once again, it's a technique. You're not going to learn it because you've seen other people do it. You're not going to learn it on the job. It's like mathematics. You have to study it, and it's not so complicated. Go on YouTube and watch innovation management course. Read books, okay? Because if you don't have the techniques, you're not going to win. It's not something. There is no like easy way, okay? In French, we say, if you like, no pain, no gain. Okay, in French, it's a different expression, but that's it. No pain, no gain. Okay. No, but you're not gonna get a quick pass. It's not possible. If you want to win, like I only bet when I'm sure I'm gonna win. Like every 6 years, I bet all the money I have on a new idea that I'm sure is going to be a winner. If at first, if you want to be able to support an innovation project, you will need to have this kind of internal convincing on your side, and you need to know that you're going to win. But you need also to be able to bring other people with you. And when you use models, it's really easy to take away all the noise, because you see so many shit ideas around here. Like, how many people come to pitch me ideas that are stupid? Because they don't make money, they don't have a short-term goals. They're just like something, 5%. I think it's the idea, and the rest is implementation. So first, like, be prepared, have your team prepared, play to win, and for this you need techniques. You need to be able to put that into a balance sheet. Otherwise, it's not going to pass, or unless you're very charismatic, but most of us aren't. Like, honestly. And then, like, play to win. Speak the language that your owner can understand.
Any additional?
Maybe one thing that was my first task when I did a pre-opening a few years ago that was supposed to be built without a reception from the very beginning. And back then, cloud PMS was like a new thing. There were 5 on the market, maybe. And that is question everything. So, like, when I look at something and I want to innovate, I need to question every step that I take currently, every process, and ask myself, why am I doing this? What is it that I'm trying to do? And how can I maybe just find a way better way to do it? So, yeah, processes.
I think we have... Oh, any questions? No? Okay, so then try to summarize it. It's quite easy. Start with the money, analyze all your process, request everything what you have nowadays in your hotel, and request every software, every application, any operational process, and start overthink it.
And if you are doing all that, but you're still not able to convince your owner, just tell them that the competitor is doing it.
Thanks. And if you asked Antonia, then change your PMS. Thanks.
That's it?
Yep, that's it.
Okay.